Brasco and Beast. Fit, fabulous, and frisky.
Hi, I'm Beast with Brasco and Beast, and today I wanted to try a little bit something different and share with you my secret in dealing with oyster mushrooms. Previously, I've dealt with oyster mushrooms and making them taste more like steak. This time around, I want to utilize the oyster mushrooms, and utilize them more like, well, seafood. So one of the first things I wanted to go get is to get some seafood seasoning. You season them just like you would regular meat, except this is meatless. And I got a little bit of Old Bay here for the actual oyster mushrooms. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to do a combination of stir-fried vegetables along with noodles, Thai noodles, rice noodles, no egg noodles, but rice noodles, okay? And some rice noodles. And we're going to combine that with a combination of vegetables, which includes green pepper, red pepper, orange pepper, onion, garlic, carrot, all sauteed together with liquid smoke. All right, that's going to be separate by itself. And then we're going to utilize the oyster mushroom and give them more of a seafood kind of texture when we begin to kind of utilize it all. You'll see how it all mixed together and see how scrumptious it is. And so this is a step-by-step on how to deal with oyster mushrooms and give it that feel. And by the way, you don't forget to go ahead and buy yourself some cocktail sauce, because remember, the oyster mushrooms are going to taste and mimic seafood. Let's begin. Now, what I did was, before we got started, I pre-made some things and got them prepared a little bit earlier. I've just learned my lesson that it's best to get these things done before you start really cooking. All right, so here's what I have pre-made already. I've already pre-cut carrots, and actually I left out one of them, which is celery. All right, and in this bowl I have, let's open them up, because that's where I have my red, orange, and green peppers all mixed together. Okay, and then in this one I have my cut yellow or white onions. Okay, I mean, you could use red, but red onions are usually used for, like salads and stuff like that. I want to turn my wok on, okay? Now I've got my water getting ready to boil because I got to handle my rice noodles over here, okay? So this is something totally by itself, but that's not a big deal. Right now we want to get this going. Now what I would typically do is I would typically put this all in here and then put the oyster mushrooms in afterwards and do it with, that's what I'm usually doing with other kinds of mushrooms like white mushrooms or portobellos. This time we're going to do this a little bit different. You see, the difference is going to be, we're going to cook the oyster mushrooms first and cook the water out of them first, all right? And season it up and do all that, and then remove it, and then we'll come back and do the vegetables afterwards and see what big difference that'll make, I also pre-made the oyster mushrooms where I put them all in a bag here, and they've been marinated. Now understand, don't put anything wet with these, because they're gonna sweat when you put sauce or spices in it anyway. Okay, so when you put the spices in it, you just put dry spices in there, and see, it'll start getting a little moist by itself. You start to smell all of that. See all of that? That's all oyster mushroom. And see, it starts getting a little bit of moisture on it. When you put the spices on it, it soaks it in. So don't put water on. Don't put any water on it, okay? Don't put any moisture on it. It has an abundance of moisture all by itself. And see, and it already mimics, like, it almost looks like seafood right now as we speak, right? Very seasoned seafood. Now, all this is that seafood flavoring and the Old Bay. That's all there is. Now, I got to add some pepper to this, too. And then we'll also add a little nutritional yeast when I cook it. All right. So here we go. I'm going to add them all in here and cook them all down. I probably should slice them up a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's a mistake. I think I should slice them up a little bit more. Let's see if I can slice them up while they're in the pan here. Slice them up just a little bit here, so that they're pieces, like, like seafood. not thick steaks like the other one. We're trying to get them to thin out a little bit here, so it's more like seafood. So we're gonna cut them up a little bit. I probably should cut it up beforehand. That's okay. It's still gonna cook. With oyster mushrooms, they have so much water in them that you don't have to really add anything. You know, it may look like it's burning or whatever, but it's not, because it's just a lot of water in oyster mushrooms. So this is going to create its own juice. And while I got it going in there like that, let me put some of this other stuff in here to make it happen. This pepper. And as they say on Black Jeopardy, gotta have paprika. Paprika, paprika, paprika. It gives it a good color too, to be honest. And if you don't want no paprika in it, that's your business. That's what that woman told me. I've been watching her. She's got a great YouTube channel too. That's your business, as she say. All right. Now, I would typically go with this liquid smoke and start doing all that, but I'm learning to let this stuff cook on its own, the juices, okay? So I'm going to let it cook, let it get warm, and then after it cooks, and then I'm going to take it out, and then I'm going to add the vegetables and do the vegetables separately, and then add this in later. But the first thing I got to do is get this stuff reminiscent of good old-fashioned meat. Oh, and before I forget, the nutritional yeast, so it give it that slick, buttery type of a deal on it, you know? This is good by itself. You don't even need nothing else for that meal. And then that's got it going on, baby, baby, got it going on. Said the beast, just has got it going on. Magic. My water's starting to try to boil here. Okay, okay. Now once again, you want to try to get these rice noodles. Don't do egg noodles, do rice noodles, baby. All right. Now with this, I put just a touch of salt in this thing here. Okay. Now, for me, I use this. All right, Himalayan salt. And I just put a little bit on there so it doesn't. I can't really use a lot of salt because of my heart condition and stuff like that. But I use a little bit of salt because it helps to keep the noodles a little bit separated from what I do. I could be wrong, but it does help. At least it helps me. And it's boiling. It's getting ready. This right here, you can smell the flavor coming off of this stuff here. The seasoning and all that. I'm still waiting for that water to kick in, because that water usually kicks in very easily when I'm doing it by itself. But I'm going to be one of faith. I'm going to keep on working it. Then I'm going to add these ingredients in there later on when I get to the vegetable part. It looks like my water is boiling just right for me to get them noodles in there. So we're going to get that going here. Hold on a minute. Get them noodles in there. Get the noodles and they got them to boiling. Because I like the noodles nice and fat and soft. I don't like al dente. Al dente is al nasty, at least to me. Okay, we took those out. We have that meat that's smoking over here. We'll come back to that in just a second. Now we got to get ready to do this up. So we start off with our garlic. Then we're going to add our onions in here. Things that are a little harder to caramelize and cook sometimes. And then I want to add the thing that's harder to cook, which is really the carrots and the celery. Gotta add a lot of stuff into this thing here. But we about to make it happen. Grab some of that liquid smoke. Throw that liquid smoke on there. Right? Get it going. Get that heat going, mixing up with all those pieces of garlic and that minced garlic, giving it that flavor. You know, giving it that rich flavor. And we got that. I'm gonna add just a little bit of chili powder. Put this chili powder here. Add a little to that. Yeah. Add me some ahem. Add me a little ahem. So we've got this mixture happening here. And it's got the right colors, you know. Colors makes a big difference in presentation. The more colorful a dish is, the more delicious it just plates, you know. I always like to put the carrots in first because they take the longest to cook, you know, to cook them all thorough and stuff like that. And I don't know, it seemed like every good recipe starts off with garlic first. And garlic is so good when you look up the health benefits of garlic. I mean, it's a no-brainer as far as using it. Of course, I like using onions, but I cut up enough to. I got it for this from Brasco. I cut up enough so that I can, you know, use something for another recipe down the road. And I got plenty of green pepper, red pepper, orange pepper, you know, to go into all of this. See, now here comes all that water I was talking about. But I've got two different flavors going on right now. I've got this liquid smoked vegetable stirred dish that's right here, and by itself with the noodles is enough. You know what I'm saying? It is enough. And you know, as I've been changing over to a whole food plant-based diet, I'm telling you something. I used to like to cook. Now I'm starting to love to cook because what I cook tastes just as good, if not better, than what I go pay $40 per plate for at a restaurant. And since it's COVID-19 time, it forced a brother to learn how to cook. You feel me? Out of necessity, because I get tired of eating plant-based hot dogs. I'm just saying. Oh yeah, you see them noodles? See how they swirling nice? And oh yeah, I like them. I like them when they all thick and droopy like that. Yes, buddy. I don't want them to be stiff in no way, shape, or form. Now a little bit of salt to me keeps them from caking on each other. You know, that's just me. It might not be true, but it works. That's my presupposition on just that sprinkle of salt before you put these in here like that. I'm gonna let them ride. I'm gonna let them ride. I'm gonna let them ride. Let them ride. I think I burned my finger. I'm gonna let them ride, cause now I got all this happening here. It's smelling good too. Oh, if you could smell it. Yes. That liquid, let me tell you something. This liquid smoke, that's the truth, son. Do you hear me? That liquid smoke is the truth. Make everything smell good. Smell like a barbecue. Taste like a barbecue. Make the simplest of cooks seem like a chef. And you know, if it make me sound like I know what I'm talking about, you know it must be easy for you to use. Because I'm as basic as a cook, as a chef gonna ever be. There we go. Here we go. Yeah. Now it's time to start adding this, okay? So I'll just let the colors fall where they may, you know? It's a pretty healthy amount, and I'm cooking for not just today, but I'm cooking for several days. You know, I'm not trying to eat all this in one day. Add me a little more flavor into that. We got all of that garlic and all of these wonderful colors mixing in with this thing here. Stir frying it, making sure it gets all the flavor. Add that pepper. Add a little bit of that paprika. See this by itself? That's a treat right there. Don't even need no oyster mushrooms or no kind of mushrooms, but just this by itself is a treat with the noodles. But when you add in those oyster mushrooms, that's going to set it all the way off. So now we're at the last stages. Now once again, when you're doing your mushrooms separately, be sure you spray a little bit of canola oil so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. You might add a little bit of water to help it to generate more steam more quickly, because mine was a little bit drier than I expected it to be, but it still is going to work because it's this dryness that's giving me all the flavor. Now let's go ahead and see how this looks all together, okay? Okay, so this is what we're looking like with all the vegetables cooked in here. I've been cooking this starting with the garlic and then I added the celery and the carrots and then the green peppers. Now we're going to add the meat, which is the oyster mushroom. We add that in there. And we really want to see how this all bunches up into a mixture here. You know, when you slice up your mushrooms as much as you want, you spread it out. You know, you want to try to distribute it as much as you can throughout your whole dish, so you don't have just one clump of oyster mushrooms and one clump of vegetables, but you want it to be all together. But it's all making for a wonderful steamed mixture of flavors and colors. And it is absolutely amazingly appetizing. You see? I'm going to turn it down a little bit and let it just stew in its own juices for a minute. And we already have the noodles ready to go. I got it set up so I can have me a now plate and a later plate. Divide them noodles up, put them on there. Now when you got them there real quick, it never hurts to put a little bit of nutritional yeast in there just to give it a little more, give it that oily, buttery kind of a feel to it. You know, give it a little more of a oily, buttery texture. And this works, man. This nutritional yeast stuff, it really does. It works. Turns it a little bit yellow like butter would too. But it just gives you the right, you know, the right extra on that. You know what I'm saying? The right extra. That's what I would call it. It gives you the right extra. Pretty much looking at my final product here. I mean, even pieces of the oyster mushrooms almost feel like it's like little bitty crabs. Small crabs with this whole dish, right? But it is delicious. It smells outstanding. And we're ready to plate it up. So we take one of our noodles here. I'm going to grab a serving ladle. Or we just scoop some of this up. Put it on over here. You know, scooping up ample amount of vegetables and oyster mushroom, crab meat, so to speak. So it'll be an even distribution. That's for my now meal. I'm gonna mix it up for my later meal. You can also serve this with rice. You know, All those flavors. Look at all that color. And the difference between the two, you know. Give me a couple more pieces of oyster mushroom in there. All vegetables. All plant-based. Delicious. Multi-texture. Multi-layered flavors. Everything. Now I'll save this and put it up later on so I can use it on another dish, you know. But this is what today looks like, you know. Mix it in there with the noodles. And I'm looking at a delicious change of pace meal. Now, what you can do is, if you happen to be a fan of soy sauce, you know, you could get some soy sauce and put that in there, okay? Or you could use red wine vinegar if you want that. Or any other crazy element you want to add on to it. But for me, this is just what the doctor ordered, just like this. The textures, the colors, the contrast between the white noodles and the colors and the flavoring, all of that makes for a very appetizing meal. This is before you mix it up. This is after you mix it up. And there we have it. A meal fit for an afternoon on Sunday. Now, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't taste it in front of you, you know. And that I will do. Give me a little bit of this oyster mushroom along with these carrots and this noodle. Oh yeah, the layered flavors are outstanding. And it's a very clean tasting meal. Really fulfilling. And then, to top it off, I grab my cup. Let's just put it in this bottle. This is not actually what's in the bottle. But this is my hibiscus tea. I just repurposed an old bottle for the hibiscus tea. Hibiscus tea made of pineapple skin, lemon, ginger, nutmeg, ground cloves, cinnamon, hibiscus tea, and agave sweetener. Oh yeah. A perfect meal. Listen, I hope this has been helpful for you and you're able to learn from my mistakes and stuff, fellas, but hey, it's simple and it works and it costs so much less, all right? I'm Beast, Brasco&Beast, giving you my beastly meal of the week. Rawr.